where we are talking all about discovery. But, not the usual kind where a massive team of archaeologists spends decades carefully brushing dirt off an ancient site. No, today we're looking at how some of history's absolute biggest secrets were stumbled upon by complete and utter accident. We're going to unpack these incredible moments where just ordinary people accidentally peeled back the curtain on the past. I mean, it really makes you wonder, right? What actually happens when totally mundane everyday activities ends up colliding with mind-blowing ancient mysteries? We're talking about a guy just heading out for a day of fishing, or a farmer desperately trying to dig a well during a severe drought, or even engineers just looking for oil, and suddenly, bam, they are face to face with something that literally rewrites our entire understanding of human history and the natural world. It's wild. So let's look at exactly what we'll be covering today.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, the Great Lakes hunting mystery. Second, a deep sea shipwreck. Third, catching a living dinosaur fish. And finally, the Terracotta farmer's tragedy.
Let's get right into our first case. Section 1, the Great Lakes hunting mystery. From sonar to the Stone Age. Okay, picture this. The year is 2007. Archaeologist Dr. Mark Hawley is out there using advanced sonar technology to scan the freezing pitch-black bottom of Lake Michigan. He's honestly just looking for a lost modern shipwreck, but instead his sonar pings a perfectly straight line of massive stones down on the sandy lake bed, and they looked deliberately placed by human hands. This line just stretched on and on, eventually ending in a perfect stone circle right next to a really deep trench. Well, as you can imagine, the media completely ran with this. They falsely dubbed a 10,000-year-old Stonehenge, hyping it up as some deeply spiritual, mystical monument. But that puzzle actually remained unsolved until 2 years later. In 2009, an anthropologist named John O'Shea published a paper because he had found the exact same type of stone lines 300 kilometers away in Lake Huron. And that second discovery totally cracked the case. Actually, scratch the whole Stonehenge idea. This wasn't a mystical monument at all. It was a highly engineered ancient hunting machine known as a driveline. See, thousands of years ago, Native Americans hunted caribou in this area. And caribou have a very specific, kind of weird psychological quirk. They will naturally follow straight lines or paths. So these brilliant ancient hunters built huge straight lines out of stones to essentially hack the animal's psychology. The caribou would follow the line straight into that perfect stone circle. Once they were in, they couldn't escape forward because of that deep trench, so they were trapped. Then the hunters, who were just hiding behind the stones, would ambush them. What looked like some religious monument to us was actually just a masterful piece of ancient engineering. All right, moving from the lakes of North America out to the open ocean. Here's Section 2, a deep sea shipwreck, oil bots, and ancient sailors. Let's jump ahead to literally just 2023. A British oil company is out scanning the Mediterranean Sea looking for no gas and oil fields. They're floating about 55 miles off the coast of Israel, and they send an incredibly advanced robotic vehicle down to the pitch-black seafloor. And we're talking a full 1 mile deep here. The pressure is intense. Suddenly, the engineers spot this massive pile of hundreds of clay pots, just half buried in the sand. So they send some highly specialized robots down to gently retrieve a few jars. They run some carbon dating tests, and the results were absolutely staggering. The cargo and the completely intact 40-foot shipwreck buried underneath it was 3,300 years old. Take a second to really process that. This officially made it the absolute oldest deepwater shipwreck ever discovered in human history. So what's the big deal about some old pots? Well, researchers suspect the jars contained precious cargo. Things like olive oil, agricultural products, and wine. But why this matters so much, the real so what here, is what it proves about ancient humanity. The Mediterranean Sea is massive. It covers 1 million square miles, and the waves can be incredibly dangerous. Before this random discovery, we didn't think ancient people from over 3,000 years ago had the capability to sail across the deep, open ocean. We kind of just assumed they hugged the coastlines to stay safe. But this accidental oil survey proved that these ancient sailors possessed insanely advanced navigation technology and shipbuilding skills. They were conquering extreme open ocean conditions way before we thought possible. A total game changer. Next up, we are shifting gears completely for Section 3, catching a living dinosaur, the alien of the deep. Okay, imagine it's a freezing cold morning in December of 1938, off the coast of South Africa. A local fisherman is heading out for his daily catch, just like he has for the past 30 years. Routine stuff, right? But on this particular day, he pulls up his net and finds this 5-foot-long, glowing blue creature staring back at him. He had accidentally caught a coelacanth. Now, the scientific community thought this fish had been extinct for 65 million years. Before this morning, its fossils were only ever found in the exact same ancient rock layers as the T-Rex, and it is so different from a normal fish. Unlike normal fish that have delicate fins and lay eggs, this living dinosaur gives live birth. Plus, it has 4 fleshy, bone-filled fins that it uses exactly like animal legs. Oh, and it's the only living creature with a jointed head, meaning it can lift its entire upper jaw to swallow massive prey. And its biology is truly bizarre. Get this, 99% of this creature's skull is packed entirely with fat, leaving only 1% for its actual brain. Which sounds crazy, but it makes sense when you think about where it lives. Down in the incredibly deep, freezing dark ocean, that fat protects its brain and body from being totally crushed by the immense water pressure. And because it hunts in pitch-black darkness, it doesn't even need to see. It has a specialized thing called a rostral organ near its nose that detects the faint electrical currents given off by other sea creatures. It literally senses electricity to find its food. So here is a creature that survived the asteroid strike that wiped out the dinosaurs, hid in the dark for millions of years, only to be found by accident because one fisherman tossed his net in the exact right spot. For our final case, we're heading back to dry land. Section 4, the Terracotta Tragedy, a well that uncovered an empire. The tone here is definitely a lot more dramatic. Set the scene. It's 1974 in the small village of Xiyang, China. The region is suffering from a terrible drought, and crops are just dying off. In a desperate attempt to find water, a farmer named Yang Jifei and his neighbors decide to dig a new well. After 3 days of grueling, exhausting digging, about 15 feet down, Yang's shovel hits something solid. He clears the dirt away, and 2 eyes are staring back at him from the dark earth. It was a clay head. Well, when the Chinese government eventually took over the excavation, they didn't just find one statue. They found an entire underground empire, over 8,000 unique, life-sized clay soldiers. This was the now legendary Terracotta Army, built to guard the first emperor of China in the afterlife. And the level of detail? It is staggering. Not a single one of these 8,000 soldiers is identical. They all have completely unique faces, different hairstyles, varied uniforms, and they were buried holding real, actual brass weapons. It instantly became one of the greatest, most valuable archaeological discoveries in the history of the world. But remember when I called this the Terracotta Tragedy? There's a reason for that. When Yang Jifei first brought that clay head up into his village, there wasn't a celebration. The villagers were completely terrified. In their culture, digging up statues from the earth was considered a terrible omen of bad luck. And, incredibly, tragically, their fear was entirely justified. Because of the sheer magnitude of what they'd found, the government confiscated all of the villagers' land to build the massive museum that sits on that site today. The farmers who accidentally uncovered this priceless world wonder lost their land, their homes, and their livelihoods in the process. It was a stunning victory for history, for sure, but an absolute disaster for the people who actually found it. Which brings us to the end of our explainer and to a final thought I really want you to take away with you today. From 10,000-year-old hunting traps hiding at the bottom of our lakes to 3,000-year-old ships miles beneath the ocean's surface. From dinosaur fish lurking in the dark to entire clay empires just waiting under a farmer's dry field, our history isn't just locked away in textbooks, it's physically all around us. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you cast a fishing net or even just dig a hole in your garden, consider what you might hit. What other massive, earth-shattering ancient secrets are hiding just beneath our feet or just under the waves, simply waiting for someone to accidentally stumble upon them?